Apollo is one of the most recognizable gods in ancient Greek mythology, but he is also one of the hardest to define with a single title. He is often introduced as a god of light, music, prophecy, healing, poetry, and archery. That list can feel almost too broad, as if several gods have been combined into one. But in Greek religion, Apollo's many roles were connected by a deeper idea: order. He revealed hidden knowledge through prophecy, restored balance through purification and healing, shaped harmony through music, and protected communities from danger. At the same time, he could send plague, punish arrogance, and strike from a distance with deadly arrows. Apollo was not simply a gentle god of beauty and song. He was a radiant but dangerous divine power, admired, feared, and consulted across the Greek world. Apollo belonged to the Olympian generation of gods. He was the son of Zeus, king of the gods, and Leto, a divine mother associated with motherhood and modesty. His twin sister was Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, wilderness, and young women. The pair were often imagined together as youthful, powerful archers, each connected to sudden death and protection. Apollo was usually represented as the ideal choros, a beardless, athletic young man in the prime of life. This image mattered. It was not only about physical attractiveness, though Apollo was considered one of the most beautiful gods. His youthful form symbolized energy, discipline, and perfection. Unlike mortal boys who grew up and aged, Apollo remained eternally young, an image of divine vitality held forever at its peak. One of Apollo's most important identities was Apollo Pythios, the patron deity of Delphi. Delphi was among the most sacred places in the Greek world, famous for the Delphic Oracle. People came from cities, kingdoms, and distant colonies to ask for guidance. They wanted answers about war, law, migration, religious duty, and personal crises. Apollo's oracle did not function like a simple fortune-telling booth. It was embedded in ritual, purification, and sacred authority. The god was believed to speak through the prophetic process, giving divine insight that humans had to interpret carefully. This made Apollo a bridge between gods and mortals. He did not merely know the future, he revealed divine order in a confusing world. His advice could shape city foundations, political decisions, and religious customs. Apollo was also a god of ritual purification. In ancient Greek thought, wrongdoing, bloodshed, disease, and contact with certain forms of death could create pollution, a dangerous spiritual condition that affected individuals and communities. Apollo's power helped cleanse and restore. This is one reason he was called Alexicacus, meaning the averter of evil. The title captures an important side of his worship. People turned to Apollo when they needed protection from invisible threats. He could drive away harm, restore sacred order, and guard communities from forces that threatened their survival. But this protective quality had a sharp edge. Apollo's authority over purification meant he also stood close to the things people feared most: plague, guilt, contamination, and divine anger. He was a healer because he understood affliction. Apollo's relationship with medicine and disease is one of his most fascinating contradictions. He was associated with healing, both directly and through his son Asclepius, who became one of the great divine figures of medicine. People could pray to Apollo for relief from illness and deliverance from epidemics. Yet Apollo could also bring sickness. In myth and religious imagination, his arrows could carry plague as well as protection. This double role may seem strange at first, but it reflects a common pattern in ancient religion: the god who controls a danger is also the god who can remove it. Apollo's bow did not only symbolize warfare or hunting. It symbolized distant, sudden, invisible force. Disease could appear that way too, striking people without warning. Apollo embodied both the threat and the cure. Archery connected Apollo closely with his sister Artemis. The invention of archery was credited to the divine twins, and Apollo was usually pictured with a silver or golden bow and a quiver of arrows. His weapon emphasized precision, distance, and divine control. Unlike a warrior who grapples in close combat, Apollo could strike from afar. That distance made his power feel mysterious and unavoidable. In myth, arrows could punish offenders, destroy monsters, send disease, or defend the innocent. They also connected Apollo to discipline and skill. Archery requires clarity of vision, steadiness, and exact timing, qualities that fit his broader image as a god of order. His bow was not a random weapon, it expressed the way Apollo's influence moved through the world, sharp, focused, and often sudden. If Apollo's arrows show his severity, his music reveals his harmony. Apollo presided over mousike, a Greek concept broader than the modern word music. It included song, dance, poetry, rhythm, and cultivated artistic performance. He was considered the inventor of string music and was commonly associated with the lyre. In art and poetry, he often appears as the companion and leader of the muses, the divine figures who inspired the arts and knowledge. As their chorus leader, Apollo represented not just entertainment but ordered beauty. Music in the Greek world was tied to education, ritual, memory, and civic identity. Through Apollo, artistic expression became sacred. A song, a poem, or a dance could reflect harmony in the cosmos, human character, and the city itself. Apollo was especially connected with the protection and development of the young. In this role, he was a keratrophos, a nurturer of children and youths. His concern was not limited to physical survival. He was linked with health, education, discipline, and the transition from childhood into adulthood. One custom associated with Apollo involved boys cutting their long hair when they reached maturity and dedicating it to the god. This ritual marked a change in social status. The boy was leaving childhood behind and entering the responsibilities of adult life. Apollo himself, however, was often shown with long, uncut hair. That detail was symbolic. Mortals cut their hair because they grow and change. Apollo's flowing hair represented eternal youth, a perfection that never passes through age or decline. Apollo's importance was not confined to grand temples and famous sanctuaries. He also had a rustic side as a pastoral deity. He was honored as a protector of herdsmen, shepherds, flocks, herds, and crops. In agricultural communities, survival depended on protection from disease, pests, predators, and bad fortune. Apollo's role here may seem far from poetry and prophecy, but it fits his larger identity as a guardian of order. Healthy animals, fertile fields, and safe rural life were essential to the stability of the community. A god who could avert plague among humans could also defend livestock from sickness. A god who protected cities could protect their food supply. Apollo's pastoral role reminds us that Greek gods were not abstract symbols, they were woven into everyday concerns. Apollo was also connected to cities, laws, and colonization. Ancient Greek communities often consulted oracles before founding new settlements or establishing political structures. Apollo's guidance could authorize a colony, direct settlers, or help define civic order. He was seen as a giver of laws and a supporter of civil constitutions. This does not mean every law was imagined as dictated word for word by Apollo, but his authority gave sacred legitimacy to human institutions. Under the title Apollo Alexicacus, he protected streets, public places, and home entrances. This placed him at the thresholds of civic life, guarding movement, boundaries, and shared space. Apollo's power extended from the oracle's sacred chamber to the doorway of an ordinary house, from the founding of cities to daily public safety. Over time, Apollo's identity expanded beyond the Greek world. His worship was imported to Rome in the 5th century BC, and he became important in Roman religion as well. Unlike many Greek gods whose Roman counterparts had different names, Apollo largely kept his Greek name. This helped preserve his distinct character as a god of prophecy, healing, and the arts. Later traditions increasingly linked him with the sun. From the 5th century BCE, Apollo was often identified with Helios, the personification of the sun, and Latin theological writings also connected Apollo with Sol. But this identification developed gradually. In earlier classical poetry, Apollo and the sun were not always treated as the same being. The merging of Apollo with solar imagery shows how flexible and evolving ancient divine identities could be. Apollo endures because he gathers so many human hopes and fears into one divine figure. He is the beautiful youth with the lyre, but also the archer whose arrows bring death. He is the healer who saves cities from plague, but also the god who can send plague in the first place. He inspires poetry and music, guides lawgivers and colonists, protects children, guards entrances, watches over flocks, and speaks through the oracle at Delphi. His contradictions are not accidents. They reveal how the ancient Greeks understood divine power, not as simple goodness, but as immense authority over both danger and remedy. Apollo shines because he orders the world, but his light can expose, judge, and burn. That is what makes him one of mythology's most compelling gods. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.